The West Fork Trail is an iconic Sedona hike. It is located about half an hour outside of town, and to get there you'll be passing by our friends from Sedona ATV, and you'll also be passing by another one of our favorite tour companies, which is Pink Jeep. Please note, if you plan on doing this hike, that there is a fee. At the time of the recording of this video, it is $15 per vehicle, and that covers up to 5 people, or $4 per person if you walk in. This is a very popular trail and space is limited, so if you want to do this hike, you need to get there early. The official West Fork Trail comes in with an overall distance of 6.7 miles and an elevation gain of 561 feet. Notice that I said official because there is an opportunity to go farther once you reach the end of the trail. Something interesting about this hike is that it doesn't feel like the standard Sedona trails. Instead of desert plant life, you'll be surrounded by tall ponderosa pines, maples, ferns, moss, seasonal fall colors, and Steller's jays. While this trail is popular year-round, it becomes one of Arizona's most famous spots to see the changing leaves in the fall. We will be getting to the serene, peaceful nature in just a little bit, but before we get there, we have some abandoned structures to look at. These are some of the remnants of the Mayhew Lodge. The first thing that you'll see is this little pool here. I'm not sure if this was used for swimming or if it stored water for the orchards. If you know what it was used for, please feel free to let us know down in the comments. And a little further down the trail is the lodge itself. This lodge has history dating back to the early 1900s, but it became way more popular when it was bought in the 1920s by a photographer and outdoorsman named Carl Mayhew. Even though the lodge doesn't look like much these days, this was the home away from home for some pretty important people like Walt Disney, Clark Gable, and Jimmy Stewart. It sadly caught fire in 1980, and nature has been reclaiming the area ever since. In addition to the lodge, there is also a small cave on the other side of the trail. According to my research, this cave was probably used for food storage since caves are pretty good at regulating their temperatures. It's not a very big cave, but if you have kids that like to explore or if you're a child at heart, it's fun to check out. Next to the cave, there is one of the most intact buildings left over from the lodge, and this was supposedly a chicken coop. With all the abandoned buildings now in the rearview mirror, it's time to get onto that beautiful nature. Speaking of nature, there is a good chance that you will encounter some wildlife on this hike. While we only encountered birds, there is a chance that you could see a snake. But worry not, because you are more than likely going to be seeing a garter snake, and they're not venomous. One of the nice things about this hike is that most of the time it feels like a peaceful stroll. Rarely ever does it get steep, and when it does, it doesn't last for very long. The only thing that some people will find challenging are the river crossings, and there are a lot of them. Depending on who you ask, there are between 11 and 13 river crossings on this hike, and you'll have to do it twice, so that could be up to 26 river crossings. We did our best to keep our feet dry on the way out, but rock hopping can be dangerous because you can never tell if they're going to be stable or not. We highly recommend bringing some shoes like our La Sportiva TX3s because they don't mind getting wet and they give you a ton of traction. There are only a couple of trail markers along the way, but the good thing is it's a very easy to follow trail, and it's also quite popular, so chances are you're going to be seeing people all along the way. As you make your way through the canyon, be sure to look up at the towering cliffs. That is Coconino Sandstone. These cliffs were created by ancient sand dunes, and they were part of a massive desert 260 million years ago. The cliffs are not the only celebrity here, because this canyon is actually famous. This canyon was featured in a silent film back in 1923 named Call of the Canyon. You may notice a lot of logs laying down at the river crossings. Some of these are used as trail markers, but others have been carried down by flash floods. It is extremely important that you check the weather if you plan on doing this hike because flash floods are a very real risk here. While the flash flood risk may not be as extreme as it is in places like the Antelope Canyon Via Ferrata, you can still get into some pretty big trouble out here. These floods aren't all bad though, because they have helped shape this canyon into what it is today. If you are tired along the hike or you just want to stop for a quick drink or snack, there are so many beautiful places along this trail. It seems like everywhere you turn there's a small waterfall or a neat rock formation. And another nice thing is there is a ton of shade, which will help if you're visiting during the warmer months. In fact, if you are visiting during the summer, this canyon, because of the shade and the canyon itself, is known to be 10 to 20 degrees cooler than Sedona. We had already lost count of river crossings at this point, but I am happy to report that none of us took any unintentional swims this day. As you will see in a little bit, we did go in intentionally, and it was well worth it. Please note that we filmed this video in March, so if you are visiting during the snowmelt, these water crossings can be a lot deeper and a lot colder. If you're doing this hike in those conditions, you may want to consider wearing some neoprene water socks. Another gear recommendation that I might make are some hiking poles. These can be pretty helpful even if you have good balance, because if you do decide to walk through the water, it can get a little bit slippery and mossy. In addition to an already picture-perfect hike, there are tons of little side quests along the way. There are offshoots that take you to tiny waterfalls and other really cool features. This is definitely a trail that you will want to bring your camera on, but you might want to have a safe dry place for it when you're doing all those water crossings. We have nothing but faith in our viewers, but I always feel like I need to say it in the videos anyways. This is pristine nature out here, so if you do decide to visit, please be sure to clean up after yourself and don't carve your name into rocks like this idiot is doing right here. Speaking of trail courtesy, this is a great hike to leave your Bluetooth speakers at home for. It is a well-noted phenomenon, and we noticed it too, that sound carries way further here, and I am assuming that it has something to do with the canyon walls. You can hear the conversations of people way off in the distance, and I'm sure that your Spotify playlist is awesome, but not everyone wants to hear it. If you're just starting to do research for an upcoming Sedona trip, you are in luck because we put together a list of 9 amazing hikes in Sedona. Of course, this list was made before we shot this video, so that brings it to 10 amazing hikes that you can do on your next trip. If you are wondering what kind of temperatures you can expect on this trail, here is a breakdown. In the spring, the afternoons will be between 60 and 75 degrees. In the summer, afternoons will be between 75 and 90. In the fall, temperatures will be between 55 and 75. And in the winter, it'll be between 45 and 60. Keep in mind, you will probably be getting wet in all of those temperatures, so that may be more favorable during certain times of the year. I know that Sedona is known for everything from the paranormal to the spiritual with its vortexes and everything. And whether you believe in that or not, you have to admit that there is something very unique about this place. I mean, look at these rock formations. I know that this was created by water, but there's just something so surreal about it. As I mentioned before, this trail has no shortage of really unique rock features. One of the rocks that we passed along the way had this really unique honeycomb shape to it. I'm not exactly sure what caused it. Another thing that we ran into that we were not expecting at all was snow. This was a pretty warm visit to Sedona, but I guess there is enough shade in these canyons to let the snow stick around a little bit longer. The good thing is that even though there was snow all around us, the temperatures were still really mild and pleasant. After we left the snow behind, we found a really cool wave-shaped rock formation. I'm not sure if it had some sort of a spring or snow melt coming from it, but it was dripping water and it was very refreshing. This area must get a ton of shade because there was also a lot of moss growing here. We only have one more river crossing to do before we reach the halfway point of the trail. This is going to be the steepest part of the trail as far as the way out is concerned, and it's really not all that bad. There are a good amount of steps here and a steep drop off on one side, but as long as you hug the left side of the trail, there shouldn't be any problems. After the climb, we will be dropping back down into the canyon, and we are pretty much there. This is where the trail officially ends, and a lot of people turn back here, but they are missing out on one of the best parts. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, there will be a little bit of suffering involved because this water was very cold, but you've come this far, so you might as well enjoy it. This is the most photographed part of the trail, and it really reminded us of the Boynton Canyon subway, but with water. One of the nice things about the ice cold water is that we had spent the last couple of days hiking in Sedona and our legs were kind of sore. Wading through this cold water was almost like putting ice packs on our legs, and we felt a little bit better after we got out. As we shivered our way through, we almost could not help but be mesmerized by the reflection of the water on the walls. There will be a couple of islands and shelves that you can hop onto if you are getting a little bit too cold, but once you round the bend, you are about halfway there. If you are looking for peace and solitude in nature, you want to come back here. We saw probably 15 people stop at the edge of the water, and only about 3 continued on. We didn't end up going all that far into the wilderness area, but if you really want to, you can continue on for another 11 miles or so, but it's going to be some very tough backpacking. And also don't forget, you'll have to hike all the way back. If you're the type that likes to have lunch out on the trail, this is where we recommend doing it because this is one of the most peaceful and serene places that we've seen in Sedona. We only ended up hiking just around the bend, and then we decided that it was time to turn around and head back. We wanted to make sure that we had plenty of time to get back to the car. This was not an easy decision though, because we were both left wondering what was just a little bit further down the trail. Another benefit to getting in the water here is that you no longer have to worry about trying to keep your feet dry on all those river crossings on the way back. One of the cool things about this narrow corridor section is that it is constantly... Those flash floods that I was talking about earlier are constantly reshaping it, so it could look very different if you revisit it in a year or two. B and I don't do repeat hikes very often because we're always looking for new things, but this hike has so much repeatability and I would not hesitate to do it again. This hike felt a lot longer on the way out, but I think we were just a lot faster on the way back because we just blasted through the water crossings and walked directly through the water. Honestly, I'm kind of surprised that it took us this long to get to this hike. We've gone to Sedona probably 6 times now, and there's never been a hike there that we didn't like, but this one had something really special about it. That got us to thinking, what else does this magical place have to offer? So if you have any trails that are not on that list of standard Sedona hikes, let us know in the comments below because we're always looking for something new. If it's your first time in Sedona and you are looking for something to do after this hike, well, you are in luck. Sedona is a dark sky community, which means that if the moon conditions are right, you're going to have some amazing stars to see. So be sure to pack those telescopes, cameras, and tripods. We only have one water crossing left, and there is no time to try and keep your shoes dry now. You know that you're near the end of the trail when you see this fence? And we didn't notice it on the way out, but there were a bunch of nature's walking sticks there as well, so if you didn't bring hiking poles, you can always use one of those. And that is going to do it for our video of the West Fork of Oak Creek Trail. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Maybe hit that hype button. If you have ideas for future videos, let us know. And for all the information about this hike, as well as other awesome Sedona adventures, head on over to livethatadventure.com.